Friday was a less than stellar performance for South Carolina, but the Gamecocks came away with a 74-62 win over Charleston Southern here on Friday night at Colonial Life Arena. And there were a few factors that I think played into ultimately why this game went the way it did, where the Gamecocks were only up by 2 points at halftime. There were a ton of different lead changes in this game. Charleston Southern, give them a lot of credit, played really well at times on Friday, even looked like the better team most of the way. But it was South Carolina that was able to get the win in the end. And the factors that I alluded to that I feel like kind of played into it was, number one, you have to look at it as Thanksgiving was on Thursday. So less than 24 hours ago, South Carolina was probably having their Thanksgiving meal. Lamont Paris, after the game, said Thanksgiving is his favorite meal of the year. So he and a lot of the team were definitely looking forward to it. Some guys had their families coming into town for the holiday weekend. And then you also have to factor in South Carolina hadn't played since Sunday at the Greenbrier tip-off, where the Gamecocks suffered losses to Butler and Northwestern. So there was a little bit of that also playing into it. But Paris also mentioned one interesting little nugget, that Thursday's practice, which was on Thanksgiving, of course, was far from a good practice. In fact, he called it a bad practice for the team. So I think all that to be said, I think that's probably going to attribute to why this game didn't go so well for the Gamecocks. I mean, just did not shoot particularly well. 41.7% from the field, 20.8% from three-point range. That is now 4 straight games where the Gamecocks, who are specifically designed to shoot a ton of three-pointers, and that has been the plan since the beginning of the year for them to shoot a lot of threes, but that's now 4 straight games where they have shot below the 30% mark from the outside. So that's something that will have to be fixed. It'll have to be addressed, but Paris did say they're going to continue to shoot a lot of threes. Now, the point in which this game changed came when Kobe Knox had a really big dunk around the 12-minute mark in the second half, and that turned into a 14-4 run to where the Gamecocks eventually went up by double digits and were able to hold on in the end. So, look, I mean, it's not a good game for South Carolina against a quad 4 opponent. You take the win, it ends a 2-game losing streak, but I mean, it's still very early in the year to where you could take a lot of stock into this game if you want, but given the circumstances of how things were this week with no game since Sunday and the Thanksgiving holiday, I mean, it's definitely concerning to some extent, because you look at SEC play is about a month and a few days away from now, right after New Year's, so it's coming up quick. And, you know, I'd be lying if I said this team looks great and looks totally ready for that first game of conference play when January rolls around. But, you know, today was definitely a bit of a concerning performance to some degree. But at the end of the day, there are going to be games like this. And, you know, eventually the shots are going to have to start falling otherwise. I mean, that's got to be the recipe for success. And it's the recipe that South Carolina's going to have to take to win games. So South Carolina will be back in action next Tuesday night to take on Virginia Tech in the ACC SEC Challenge here at Colonial Life Arena. Tip-off will be at 7 p.m. on SEC Network. So once again, Carolina picking up a 74-62 win over Charleston Southern here on Black Friday at CLA. For GamecockCentral.com, I'm Jack Veltri.